Hey everybody, it's John. One quick thing before we get today's show started. A couple of weeks ago, for episode 8, I accidentally uploaded a version of this episode that only had my audio in it, and you couldn't hear Jeff's side of the conversation. So if any of you tried to listen to that and didn't hear it and didn't know what was going on, if you re-download episode 8 to whatever device you're listening on, or if you try to listen to it just on demand from the website, it will work now. Everything is fine. I fixed it. So sorry about that confusion. And here is today's show. Hey, it's Two Geek Soup. We are back for our very first episode going into double digits. Hooray! We've made it for 10 whole episodes. And no one has told us to stop yet, so we're still going. Today we're going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and a little bit of stuff that's recent as of the date of this recording. Maybe we'll have more information by the time this comes out. But with me in the studio is again making his triumphant return to the podcast.
Yes.
It's our first host back, co-host back again, Daniel Camp.
Hello.
Hi, Daniel. All right. So I was mentioning, let's see, who was I talking to on a previous episode of the podcast? I can't remember which one, about Captain Marvel, which is coming out next year.
Was that with Chris, or was that one of the other?
That was definitely with one of the... Yeah, see, so here's one of Daniel's dirty little secrets, listeners. He hasn't listened to any of the other episodes except for his own.
Yeah, I'm pretty awful.
He's vain and terrible like that. Yeah, I don't remember who I was talking to. But Captain Marvel is coming out next year, starring Brie Larson. Mm-hmm. And just yesterday, as of this recording, the first picture of her costume from the film was released, and It's got some folks in a little bit of a tizzy. Some people are getting cranky about it because they don't think it looks good on her, or also because it's not the costume that we were definitely expecting.
Right, it's not the original. Yeah.
Well, no, see...
Well, wait, no, yeah, that's right. Yeah. It is the original.
It's more like the actual original costume of...
Than what has become popular.
Of the Marvel of the Kree character Captain Marvel, and so his original costume was kind of similar to that. But really, what's interesting to me about this, I saw somebody supposing that maybe what we have here is a costume that's intended for CG overlay, and that's why parts of it are green, because it matches the styling of the contemporary costume, just not the coloring. And that would be really cool, because in the comics, one of the powers that Captain Marvel has, or at least the Marvel character, and I don't think the Carol Danvers version of the character, and I could be wrong, I don't know that the Carol Danvers version of the character has the power that they call cosmic awareness.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah.
Man, he's
I'm
throwing
just
a lot of
gonna
stuff at me.
Yeah,
today.
we're diving in really deep here. We're
Yeah.
kind of throwing Daniel in the deep end, but it's just, kind of a little speculation rant on my part here.
Right.
But when in the comics, and it's a really cool visual, when Marvel is using his cosmic awareness, and that's sort of just like a general sense that like maybe things aren't the way they need to be in the universe, it's really vaguely defined. It's just kind of does whatever the current writer wants it to do to service his story.
Interesting.
But it's a really cool visual when he uses it. His face kind of like blacks out. Not blank. It's not a blank face, but like his face goes black, and you like see like space and like stars like superimposed like over his his face.
I understand what you're saying. Like
so,
within his visage, kind of, or?
just like across his whole face. Like you still see his facial features, but it's not flesh colored. It's like space.
Yeah.
Okay. So it would be kind of cool if there was some sort of like, and also definitely one thing that is common to both the older male version and the current Carol Danvers version is that the Captain Marvel character is very much defined by their use of energy powers.
Right.
So if there was some kind of if they were going to superimpose with CG some sort of like shimmering energy, like aura onto the costume, then that would be pretty cool.
Then I get it. That would make a lot of sense with the way they're approaching that suit specifically.
Yeah.
As the designers for that suit. So it's neat.
But the other thing that I've heard about this movie is that it's actually going to be set in the 90s.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Did it give you a location too? No. That's interesting. Just 90s.
And it might just be a rumor, but this is what I've heard is that it's to be set in the 90s, and that the Skrulls are going to be involved. And I think I was talking to Jeff on one of the episodes and saying this could be really cool if this means that they're going to go with the Secret Invasion storyline.
That'd be really neat.
And it would kind of make sense then also if it was set in the 90s. This is why, part of the Secret Invasion storyline in the comics is that the Skrulls have been replacing heroes for years and like longer,
even longer, even
like
some of
decades.
the like original superheroes that we meet within Marvel timeline. Correct? Because some of the older heroes are like they're found out as to be.
Right. Later, you find out that some of the characters had been masquerading had been Skrulls masquerading as heroes for at least years. I don't know about quite decades.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think they went back quite that far, but it had been going on for a long time.
Shows how much I know.
And if that was part of the storyline that we're going to see here, then that could be kind of cool too, and it would maybe make sense as to why we haven't seen Carol Danvers around. That maybe she's been off like imprisoned by the Skrulls or something, or whatever. So anyway, there's interesting stuff going on there. We're looking forward to that movie. It'll be epic. It'll be cool. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen much of Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, anything like that. So that's very, very interesting to me personally because I have not seen any adaptation within the cinematography realm. Cinematic universe, yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and Marvel, Captain Marvel has, I don't know to what extent either version has ever been really, really popular. Mm-hmm. Carol Danvers sort of made a resurgence after the House of M event. Okay. Because in that reality, she was one of the world's premier superheroes.
Right on. Okay.
And after everything was put back in the box, she kind of looked back on that experience as like, why am I not one of the world's best superheroes?
True.
And so so that was then her story arc moving forward is like becoming the hero that she wanted to be, based on how she saw herself in this other reality basically. Yeah. And then she actually led the Avengers for a little while. And has she's become a lot more popular and cool, and is a cool character. Yeah,
this will bring like a new age kind of to an age that's trying to already be built on, and yeah.
So anyway, there's that. That's that. We'll see how that pans out. But mainly, what we're going to spend most of our time talking about here today is Guardians of the Galaxy. Yes. James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy from 2012?
I think it's man. We should have looked that up.
Should have had that in front of us. Anyway, from several years ago.
Yes.
And I hadn't been watching Parks and Rec before this came out.
Oh, really? Okay.
So yes. I sort of was vaguely aware of Chris Pratt's role as sort of more a comedic actor,
right?
But actually, I saw him. I hadn't really seen any of that stuff, and I this was really my first movie that I actually watched with Chris Pratt in it.
Interesting. Okay.
And so when I went back to watch Parks and Rec, then like after having seen this, it was kind of jarring a little bit to see him as just sort of the schlubby, doofy, kind of like which is stupid boyfriend
for me personally, and my girlfriend as well, because we almost semi-religiously watched Parks and Rec. Actually,
it is a good show.
But like you said, John, it's like he is a complete schlub. He's a hot mess, and then he turns into this like what most people would say definitely an attractive superhero within the realm. Like nobody really expected him out of all of these people to play this part.
Yeah.
So that was
what I thought was
weird.
what I thought was really funny was that after he went through that like intense exercise regimen to get in shape for this role, they lampshaded it in Parks and Rec in one episode.
They had to. Yeah,
he was like, and so one character, you came in the middle of a conversation, and the other character is saying to Chris Pratt's character, is like, so really, all you did was stop drinking beer?
Yeah.
I guess I was drinking a lot of beer. You're right. Anyway, so let's talk about Guardians.
Okay.
So just a little bit first, the source material is kind of all over the place, in Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Because the original appearance of Guardians of the Galaxy was a very, very different team, and if I'm not mistaken, that was from 1968.
Wow.
So the title of that team goes back a long ways, and it
doesn't look anything like it does now.
It's completely different. Yeah. It's set in not the really distant future, but like 1,000 years ahead in the future. And humans have colonized like the whole rest of the solar system, and they've been genetically engineered to thrive on the different planets. So the people who live on I want to say the people who live on Saturn are built to be like really stocky and like strong to withstand the gravitational deal going on there. The people who live on Mercury have like are also just engineered somehow. I know the girl who was there, like she had flaming hair for some odd reason because it was cool or whatever. The people who live on Pluto can control their
body.
They're like crystalline. They have like a crystalline body structure, and they can alter their body temperature. So the guy can do like ice and flame abilities. He has
to survive those harsh environments.
Yeah,
that's
and
neat.
so and then the other character who shows up in the movie version was Yondu, but in the comics he's actually from Alpha Centauri.
Okay.
And they're sort of like a tribal, like kind of a somewhat primitive people.
Interesting.
There, and he has like this sort of nature empathic abilities.
Oh, okay.
And he is still an archer, but he actually uses a real bow
instead of the arrow.
Well, but he does still. Well, it's not telekinesis. He controls it with sound waves. That's why he has to whistle.
Right. That is
right. And so that is still an element, sort of a loosely adapted element from his character in the comics too. But yeah, they're like fighting against the Badoon, which are these like reptilian aliens that have conquered Earth, and like it's pretty zany. It's about as out there as you would expect, sort of a sci-fi action comic from the late 60s to be.
Yeah.
And so obviously what we have in the MCU is a version that's completely different, that owes more to an event from a lot more recently in Marvel history called the Annihilation. Okay. Which it was an invasion. Again, an invasion doesn't really. We're not going to get into who that was. Doesn't matter. But that was when we first see Peter Quill as
taking that
sort
helm,
of
then
sort of a more central character. He had been around. I can't remember when his first appearance was. I think it might have been like in the 80s, but he was never really a central player until Annihilation.
Okay.
And Groot had also shown up.
Yeah.
In earlier comics as well. I think in the 70s was the first time he showed up.
Sounds right.
And